Here's the blind spot that not many people get to see in themselves. Self-sabotage is being fueled by the addiction to the familiar, which means that if it feels familiar to feel sadness, to feel anger, to feel anxiety, to feel frustration, to feel pressure, then the subconscious mind will keep on bringing the people, the situations that will be triggering those emotions in us. Because when left unchecked, the subconscious mind will keep on using reality as an excuse for us to keep ourselves inside the familiar, as an excuse to keep us inside the familiar. So here's what we do in order to stop fueling the self-sabotage, dissolve the self-sabotage, so that we can actually elevate ourselves into higher emotions, into higher realities, and unlock our full potential. So the first step here is the awareness that all the things that we don't like in our life, in our business right now, the themes that keep on repeating themselves around the business growth, around self-improvement, around our personal life, are always themes that are rooted in the early years, rooted in experiences that made us feel in a certain way when we were kids, when we were teenagers, when we were young adults. And these feelings, these emotions, these states started at that point to become familiar. And the more we internalize those states, the more we started attracting people, situations that reflected those emotions, those states back to us, that brought us into positions where we experienced again and again and again the familiar. Here's the main idea that we need to start with for the change to happen. We are subconsciously addicted to the familiar. And this is a big key, especially for people who feel like I've been trying to change, I've been trying to transform my life, my business, my growth, and nothing really seems to work, or little things are actually working and not really that great. When we feel this, we have these stories, when we have stories around how we are in looping realities in business, in personal life, then everything starts to shift when we realize this is happening because of the subconscious addiction to the familiar. And here's the truth. We have the impression that we are in control of our lives, of our decisions, of our choices. But the truth is that it's the body who is in control. And the body is always driving us towards the emotions that are familiar. There is this subconscious addiction to emotions, to the familiar, that lives inside the body, because the body holds this addiction to emotions, to a certain way of feeling. So here's how we break free, so that we start elevating our reality, elevating the way we are being in this world, and the experience of life itself, life, business, relationships that we get to have. First and foremost, we start taking responsibility for the addiction. We start becoming aware, so we start getting conscious around the emotional addictions that we have, and then we start taking responsibility. So I want you to think about recurring themes in your business, in your personal life, in your relationship with yourself, themes that you feel like I'm dealing with this now, but it's not actually something new. For instance, feeling like the world is unfair, feeling like you get to work a lot for your desire, so the frustration around that story, or the anxiety that you feel like you are missing something, that other people have it figured out but not you, or the pressure you are putting on yourself because you feel like your growth is too slow. Usually when this is something recurrent in our business, in our personal lives, then it's something that is rooted, as we were saying in the past. It's already an addiction. It's already something that is so familiar to us that our body emotionally is addicted to the emotions that are coming with those stories. So we want to check what is that is actually familiar for me when it comes to my frustrations, when it comes to what I'm experiencing right now in my business, in my life, and I don't really want to experience anymore. What is that I'm not available to experience anymore in my business, in my life, and feels like it has been a recurring theme for so long? See the addiction for what it is. Get conscious, get aware of what are the stories, what are the emotions and the stories associated to those emotions that are being recurrent. Some examples that we use were, I am so frustrated because I'm growing so slow. I'm frustrated because I have to work a lot for my desires. I feel like I'm missing something, so that is making me anxious and I put a lot of pressure on myself. I feel like the world is unfair, right? So are all these stories that are coming with the emotions that we get addicted to. Let's check what are the things that you made so familiar, the emotions you made so familiar and their attached stories, and now you are ready to take responsibility for them and take responsibility for them. The story itself, because we mentioned it before, I do it so much, or I do everything to change, to make progress, and things work so slowly or nothing really works, I can't really change, then the addiction is to the frustration and anxiety and the pressure you are putting on yourself around, I can't change. Things are not working out for me. This is actually something quite common that I am seeing. Things are not working out for me. It's an addiction to this story that comes with frustration, with anxiety, with pressure we put on ourselves. If that is something that you experience inside yourself recurrently, then take responsibility, because it's simply an addiction to the familiar. It's not really the truth. It's not really who you are. It's not something that is written in stone about you and what you are able to experience or what is available for you to experience. Is just addiction to a emotion and its stories. So this is the first step, becoming aware what are the addictions to the familiar and taking responsibility. The second step is extraordinarily important, and maybe is the step that most people can't really wrap their mind around. You know, when we see people trying to do all this subconscious work and work on themselves, I feel that this is a missing piece that once you really start tuning into, you'll see a major shift. We can't change from the same level of consciousness. So let me repeat this because it's really essential. We can't change from the same level of consciousness. So if until now we've been operating from an ego-based woundedness that was keeping us in a survival mode based on this addiction to old negative emotions, then we can't beat ourselves up and try to nail some new stories and emotions inside our head, inside our body, and force our way into change, because that is not what is gonna work. The way to ascend from ego-based reality, from woundedness-based reality, from surviving familiar survival mode into creation mode, into higher realms of potential that is being unlocked. The way to ascend is by going back to the connection to the divine, to the connection to your soul, to the connection to the universe, to the connection to your higher self, God, whatever you want to call it. We can't change something unless we realize we are bigger than it. We can't change the addiction unless we realize we are bigger than that addiction and we are part of everything. So when we come back into our connection to higher self, to soul, to God, divine, to the universe, then we start ascending into a consciousness of creation, into a consciousness where we are, instead of just surviving, we start thriving. And a way to start tuning into that higher consciousness, into that connection to soul and divine and the universe, is by simply starting to reflect and to use in an emotional way, letting yourself feel this mantra: I am pure consciousness. I am pure consciousness. Let yourself feel it. Let yourself run this idea, this feeling through your body. Let it sink into who you feel yourself to be. And as you start walking with a higher consciousness, as you start walking aware of your connection to God, to soul, to the universe, the best way to start strengthening that connection is by ascending into your purpose, going back to your why, your vision, your passion, why you are here, how you are supposed to be adding value to other people's life. When we start thinking and feeling bigger than us, bigger than who we are right now, bigger than our past, we go beyond us into the service, into our connection to soul, our connection to higher self, our connection to the divine, then that's when we are transcending. That's when we are moving from, as we are saying, from familiar survival mode into creation mode, from ego-based to unity-based. When we realize I am here for adding value, I'm here to impact, I'm here for my purpose, I'm here for my vision, and I am so much bigger than my past, than my wounds, than my addictions, that's when we start shifting them and transcending them. That's when reality starts opening up. That's when opportunity starts flowing in. That's when synchronicity starts aligning. That's when we tap into a state of flow. So this second step is really deeply important. Now, there is the third step, which is starting to choose and to take action from that consciousness, higher consciousness level, which means that we got aware of how we were addicted to the familiar and what the familiar was for us. The anxiety of not being good enough, the pressure of performing so that we prove ourselves, the pressure to work a lot for our desires because we felt like our desires are not available to us unless we are working so hard. The frustration and anger that the world is unfair and there is no fairness in our experience or no grace. We got the aware that we were addicted to the victimhood and anger and frustration and helplessness of not being able to change, to transform, because that was something recurrent that it was a theme we developed across many years of our life. So let's say we got that awareness, we took responsibility for those addictions, and we started tuning back into our connection to God, to the universe, to soul, to our higher purpose. Now it's time to start showing up from higher level emotions, from higher level states, from higher level timelines. And that means that we are simply going inward and we are asking ourselves, okay, what is better than those familiar emotions that I can choose to feel for myself? What would divine pour through me? Or if soul could speak to me right now, what would be the emotions, the states that I would be pointed towards? Start looking into what you actually want your life to feel like and be like, and what would be the emotions aligned with that life, and what would be the stories aligned to those emotions, and let yourself be led by those stories, those new higher emotions. So one of the things that I kept on thinking until not even that far behind, was that I had to work a lot. I had to work a lot for my desires. I also thought that my growth was slow and it was not as easeful as it was possible. So that was coming and was feeding my addiction to pressure, my addiction to anxiety, my addiction to shame, my addiction to frustration. When I realized that these were addictions, when it came to what felt familiar to me, and I took responsibility for them, and I doubled down more into the connection with my higher self, with soul and the universe, I started realizing that I can show up and I can choose emotions that are aligned with what I actually want to experience, and I can show up for those emotions. Like, I started making familiar the feeling of ease, letting things be easeful, letting growth be easeful, letting money be easeful. I started developing new stories around how it is possible for me to experience increasing ease, how my work gets to be easeful, my videos, producing them gets to be easeful, my content creation gets to be easeful, my holding of my clients gets to be more and more easeful. So I started wiring in first the emotion, and then I found out the stories, the new truths that I wanted to live by, and I started living by them. And other examples for something that you might choose for yourself. So let's say that the familiar was growth is slow and I feel ashamed. I'm beating myself up because it feels like I'm growing so slowly and I should be growing much faster and should be more advanced. Then the emotions we want to first wire in are the emotions of I am growing, I'm making progress, I'm seeing my progress, I'm seeing how far I've come, and I'm letting myself feel that progress is becoming who I am. I'm making progress every single day. If the emotional addiction before was frustration because we could not change or we could not change at the rate, at the pace that we wanted, then we want to wire in the feeling of transformation, the feeling of metamorphosis happening now, the excitement, the contentment, the joy of feeling ourselves transforming, elevating ourselves right now. And new stories that are aligned with those feelings are I am transforming right now, I'm elevating myself right now, I'm becoming a higher level, a higher version of who I am, I'm opening myself up to new realities, and new realities are opening up in front of my eyes. If the feeling before was frustration for not being seen, heard for who you are, people not feeling like you are significant enough or valuable enough, then we want to wire in the feelings of I am significant, I am loved, I am seen, I am visible, I'm seeing myself, I am hearing myself, and I know that other people are loving what I'm putting out, are getting value out of what I'm putting out, are touched by what I'm putting out, and are being deeply transformed. So you see, we start choosing and acting from the divine, from the higher level emotions and timelines that we are choosing for ourselves. We start choosing the emotions we want to wire inside our body. We start choosing new truths that are aligned with those emotions, and we start showing up from those emotions and from those truths again and again, going and unlocking new higher timelines and realities. The last step here, which is really important also, hear me out, the old emotions that we were addicted to will keep on coming for quite a while, and the only way we should be dealing with them is by learning how to alchemize them. I see many people doing the work once and then saying, oh, but then I feel again frustration for not moving fast enough, or for having to work too hard for my desires. And the point is here, This is an ongoing work, and the work is becoming a master of alchemizing the low vibration emotions. And here's how we alchemize them. First, we let ourselves feel them. If we feel sadness, we let ourselves feel sadness. If we feel anger, we let ourselves feel anger. If we feel pressure, we let ourselves feel pressure. But this time, instead of identifying ourselves with those emotions, instead of normalizing them and feeling that's who we are and that's what our reality is, instead of all that, we start feeling them in a conscious way. Like, isn't it interesting that I'm feeling so much sadness right now? I'm wondering, what is sadness bringing me? What is the lesson? What is the message? I'm wondering, why am I so anxious? I'm letting myself feel anxiety, but I am also opening myself up to understanding the lesson, understanding the message. What is this anxiety trying to teach me, to tell me, to let me see? I'm feeling pressure or shame. We let ourselves feel the shame, but we are conscious of how we are feeling the shame and let the shame teach us whatever the shame came to teach. You see, instead of opposing resistance to negative emotions, or this is what most people do, not allowing ourselves to feel them. These emotions, when are not allowed to be felt, are trapped in the body, and then we are walking with that emotion in our field, in our energetic body, and more emotions, the same vibration, start piling up, and then we feel all this weight and we feel like, oh my God, this is who I am. But actually, that's just trapped emotions, trapped energy into our field, into our own physical body, ultimately. And what we want is to let those emotions be what they are, feel them for what they are. So there are two keys to alchemize emotions and let them stay behind quite rapidly. Processing them rapidly, they stay behind rapidly. The first one is to feel them. The second one is to express them. The more we feel consciously, as we are saying, the emotions, and the more we express the anger, we express the sadness, we cry it out, we express the shame, we speak it out, we express the pressure, we do something to release it. The more we feel and we express the emotions, the more rapidly we alchemize them, and they start flowing through and stay behind faster and faster. And then we can go back always to, okay, now what is the elevated emotion that I want to feel? What is that I'm wiring into my body, into my energy field, and what are the new truths aligned with a new timeline? And now you have the tools to liberate yourself, to break free, and to start jumping into higher timelines, higher realities. Now, if you enjoy this work and you are ready to elevate your sense of self and power, your relationship with yourself and with your genius, your capacity to create realities fast, your magnetism to money, to clients, to life, your mastery in working with energy and the invisible, then I'm inviting you inside Becoming the One, the new magnetism and embodiment container that will be happening live soon. I will be dropping the link in the description. I'm looking forward to seeing you inside. And if you want to continue this journey here on YouTube with something that works extraordinarily with what we covered today, I'm recommending you, I think it's here, checking the how to validate yourself and stop seeking validation outside of yourself in the external world, so that you boost your self-worth and you boost your personal power. See you in the next video.